Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, a 3 times weekly show looking into the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town Football Club. This is the flagship show, and my name is Mikey Penty-Smith. And on the weekend, Ipswich laid down a smackdown on Bolton, and a defender by the name of Kane made his debut. I'm joined by 2 podcasting heavyweights who will be wrestling to have their say in this show. It's Benjamin Bloom and Rich Woodward. How are you, gents?
Good, mate. Strong, Mikey. Very, very, very strong start.
There was at least two gags. Rich. 2 gags, Mikey, yeah? Or was there 3? I missed the third. There's 2. 2
as long as you got some of them, Rich.
I normally get...
I didn't ruin them either.
Get a bit of crap for talking about wrestling, but we literally have about 8 questions about wrestling today. But I'm sure we're going to get to that, Mr. Penty-Smith.
I'm sure we will, but before we get on to wrestling, Ben, how good was the cricket today?
Got no idea. I haven't watched any of it. It was my birthday on Friday. Been out for a birthday meal. Check the WhatsApp group. In fact, let's do a little bit for YouTube here of the nonsense I have to put up. This is the Blue Monday WhatsApp. 25 messages about cricket. No, but some of the listeners like it, Mike. So if you and Richard want to talk for, I don't know, 6 to 8 seconds about cricket.
I'd wager that our listeners prefer cricket to wrestling.
I'm going to go with that as well. For the benefit of those,
probably not bet against that, Rich.
I just did an homage to Leach, and this is how little I care about cricket, except when it's interesting. He was the guy who was the other side who scored the one run to a draw. I just took my glasses off and cleaned them briefly because he did that for about 50 times during the match. But yeah, it was great.
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
Sure. Get some wickets. Shane Warne.
He scores some touchdowns, Ben.
Yeah. Bradman.
Yeah.
Saw him in Madam Tussauds.
All the big names are there.
All the best ones. Did England win the cricket or something?
Yes.
We won the 3rd test at Headingley against all odds, Ben. It was
like being 5-0 down on aggregate in a tie. You get a man sent off, and then with 20 minutes to go, you win 6-5. I think that's probably as close as I can get.
And one of the key players is wearing glasses and polishing them.
A VAR gets the wrong decision right.
But am I right in saying this is the same sport that David bought a ticket for, showed up for, it rained, and he saw no sport, and then they gave him his money back? This sport, yeah?
Yeah, that's the one.
You can play for 5 days and draw at the end of it, yeah.
Well, congratulations to Wasim Akram, Mark Ramprakash and England. I'm just saying all the cricketers I know now, Mike. But
brilliant. Okay, well, I was going to say before we start the show properly, but we're already about 5 minutes in, aren't we?
I was going to say proper,
a happy birthday to you for Friday, Ben.
Thanks, man.
I was also going to say a huge congratulations to Amy, our very own Amy Downs, who gave birth to a baby boy during the week. And he's been named James, so both his first and surnames have a real current Ipswich flavour, which is brilliant. So massive congratulations to Amy. I'm sure that she'll be listening when she's awake.
2 in the morning or something, won't she?
Yeah.
Well done, Amy.
Sleep when you can, Amy. Basically.
Experts, right here. We can any questions you've got.
Literally 0 children between the 3 of us.
So in the news since the midweek show, Paul Lambert revealed that our next away game at Rochdale is in doubt due to potential international call-ups. So we'll go straight in with a Twitter question. FPL Tractor wants to know, Rich, if you had the choice, would you call the game off from an Ipswich perspective, or would you try and play it as we've got a bit of momentum?
As someone who literally took receipt of their tickets for the Rochdale match, the morning
this is going to be
a
self-serving answer, Mikey, yeah?
This is my selfish answer I can give. It should absolutely go ahead. It also spoils my birthday weekend as well, because I've got plans to go to Rochdale, as you do on your birthday. I quite like the idea of a bit of momentum, but if we're going to lose, I'm more concerned about Downs. I think they mentioned Dobra and Georgia. It's if Downs goes up to the under-20s, I think that would be the biggest issue. But if he doesn't, if he's around, I'd go for it. We've got a big enough squad, bloody hell. But it will be called off, won't we? We'll have a week off.
It's funny, isn't it? Because Downs would be if Ipswich were in the Championship, Downs would be a dead cert to get in. But he's in the form of his life, but he might be overlooked.
That is
That's
true.
the way it goes, isn't
And
it?
he's playing great, and and as I say, he would be the only player that I'd be worried about because Ilmazin, Dobra being in and out, Judge has been in and out, Georgiou's only played a half, so we've got a bloody massive squad, Mike. A bit of rotation. Rochdale, strong of the three teams we're playing this run of games, which start with Bolton and Wimbledon. Rochdale, we talked about this, didn't we? Was the toughest. We did admit that last week.
Yeah, but we did forget that we got Shrewsbury before that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, professionalism is. We keep
and that is what I want.
I wanted to keep going, but yeah, I suspect it won't.
The only issue I've got, guys, is the build up later on in the season, because you get into September and then at the start of each month you then have the EFL leasing whatever cup, and I know he's going to not play many first teamers in that, and then the FA Cup first round, I don't know whether that'll be a reserve team. You just look and you think, when are the chances to actually have a break? But then you say, what's the point having this goes back to Amy's sleep pattern, doesn't it? What's the point having a break in September if you're then not gonna, it really is a hard job, isn't it, to balance all these games? And he's constantly playing that narrative in the press conferences. 60 games, got to rotate 60 games. So it could be good if it gives him the rest. But
where does he get that 60 games from?
I think probably Pompey or Sunderland last season. But obviously that.
But they win games in the cup.
Yeah, quite. Yeah.
We've got at least 3 in the leasing trophy that we can't do anything about, Mikey.
Yeah, so that's 50 plus 1 FA Cup game, minimum 51 plus possibly at least
and some
2
playoff
games.
So on Friday, Ben, Will Keane made his first appearance in Ipswich shirt since his return in an under-23s game. He didn't score, but how do you expect him to be used this season? We've already touched upon the leasing.com Cup. I actually think that competition might prove quite valuable to us this year if we can stay in it, because it's a good chance to try different formations.
Mike.
Yeah, but we've got so many midfielders. Like, how are they all going to get game time and get up to match speed for when we need them? I think that's another question really, but I'm actually quite pleased we're in it. But yeah, how do you expect Lambert to use Will Keane?
It's so difficult because we don't know the exact details of his fitness. Obviously, no championship team has wanted to come for him, and then it's come through the sort of championship deadline, which was on the 8th of August, and we've taken him. First of all, the deal's the right deal because it's a 1-year deal with a 1-year option, and I'm sure David will tell us about all the insurances that are in place if he does get injured, to make sure that it doesn't cost Marcus Evans a pretty penny. Where he fits, well, I'm sure we'll get into structure and formation because that happens within 20 minutes of any podcast this season, doesn't it? But I think people get a bit confused because of his height. If you remember the first game he played against Rotherham, he played number 10 behind Quainer.
Yeah, you're right.
And he's quite a clever player. The way I would want to see him used is either in a 2, and this is the good thing with Keane, he can play with Sears, he can play with Norwood, he can play with Jackson. It's never going to be that Matthew and Johnson, they're too similar type situation. You'd want him as a partner in a 2. If it's a 4-3-3, you'd want him as the one in the middle, but Norwood's the guy at the moment, isn't he? And if it's a 4-2-3-1, and we saw, I hate to mention them, Norwich do this last year.
Stiepermann.
Yeah, you put the creative players on the side, and you actually have an out ball down the middle. And I know I just said he's not a target man, but he'll happily take it on the chest and bring people in. It's a good signing.
Being a target man in that position, you're less likely to be up against the centre halves. You're more likely to be up against the holding midfielders. So he will win his headers in that position. That's what Stiepermann did. I mean, Stiepermann took corners for Norwich, so he's clearly not great in the air, but he was very effective in that position for them, wasn't he?
Sometimes it's not flicking the ball on; it's trapping it. And in theory, you've got someone behind you and 2 people either side if you're facing up. Look, none of it matters if he can't get on the pitch for more than 15 games, which has been the entire story of his career. The upside seems to be huge. It's a 26-year-old kid schooled at Man United. It looked like he got going. I went with Rich actually to the Wigan game where we played 3-5-2, and he was having a lovely old time with Bree and Nolan. Is that right, Rich? Down the right hand.
Yeah, little tree. Yeah, it was definitely Nolan. Yeah.
Down the right hand side.
That was his last game, wasn't it? Was that his last game?
He played an hour of that one, and he scored, I think, 3 in a row. So look, loads of options. He can pair with all of the forwards. He can play in several formations. And when we talk about Judge, which we inevitably will, we seem to be saying, we can play in one formation with no partners, and Keane can play in several formations with many partners. But Mikey, you have to get him on the pitch.
Yeah, you're right. It might not be an issue that we have to think about or worry about this season.
When is Sears back?
Probably not until I mean, they said December, didn't they? But
because at the moment Norwood's clearly number one forward. Jackson's kind of played his way, I don't know, more by luck than judgment because of situation, in as the number 2 forward. Sears is out the way, so he can easily challenge for the number 2 position, unless we do see the fabled Judge off Norwood, if that ever happens.
Excellent. So rounding up the news, late on Friday night we were linked with Aberdeen forward Scott Wright. Do you think there's anything in this, Rich? I'm not expecting you to know much about him. But
given what we've just talked about, it just seems a crazy piece of business. It seems to me, so I think we were linked with him before last season. It seems to me that this is one of those bits of business where he might be the new John McGinn or something like that, and therefore we want to speculate, right? To accumulate later on, because he's a number 10 who can play. I think he can play up front, but he's not got a huge amount of goals in his career. I think he's got 4 goals. One of I don't know how many, 4 in the Premier League. I think 1 for Dundee last season. He's got 2 appearances in the Prem for Aberdeen this season. Was dropped Saturday, presumably because of the interest, maybe. But he just feels like a luxury in terms of the players we've got now. Who's going to play number 10? Keane could play that. We've just kind of discussed the option for that. Judge can play that. We're playing a 4-4-2.
El Mazzuni, Dobra, Dazelle, Hughes, all can play 10.
So unless it's a signing that is made with kind of the future in mind, but he's never going to. It doesn't feel like he's going to play. So it feels, Mikey, like we're adding more people into an area of the pitch where we've got seemingly in abundance. Unless he's a secret striker who can score 20 goals, but his career statistics to date suggest that's not the case. If he was a pure out and out striker with a record of banging in goals routinely, I'd be a little bit more happy about it. But I think he'll end up going to Sunderland anyway because it's a little bit closer to home for him.
Yeah,
and I think a loanee striker for us, who's might be a good option behind Keane if Keane can't get fit.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and
£500,000 as well, Mikey. £500,000.
Yeah. Do we have 500 grand to spend on a player we might not play?
Can I just say, just on Aberdeen though, they've been a really good link up with Norwich sent Maddison there, Max Lowe went there from Derby, and then they took Shinnie as well. Other than the Bundesliga too, Aberdeen seems to be a good place where I think there's some good work done there, and people come down.
Good coach. Yeah, they play good football. They're in Europe. So, it just seems a weird one for me, but, I'm not going to judge him until he puts on a blue shirt.
Fair enough. So let's move on to Saturday's game, and it's a weird one. It's Bolton away at the Reebok Stadium. Now, this isn't your normal away game, is it? With Bolton still in administration and having to field a team pretty much full of youngsters. Could you see it all going wrong before the game, Ben, or were you confident that?
Mike, I think this game sums up how one-eyed and short-sighted and fickle you can be as a football fan. So you go into it and it's like, this has got Ipswich messing up written all over it, and you don't see the fact that a football club could go out of business. You're just like, my team might not get 3 points this Saturday. And then I did.
What about lovely me?
Yeah, exactly. And I was listening in on the coverage, and I was like, 1-0, yes. 2-0, yes. 3. Oh no, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
4, no, yeah. I don't like this anymore. This is
spoiler alert.
We've won now. This feels bad. A bit like a thing that men sometimes do, where it's a lot of fun, and then all of a sudden you just feel guilty straight after it's finished. But should we move on?
You've broken his nose. Why are you still punching him in the face?
Right, so let's have a look at the Ipswich lineup at least, and it was the immensely popular Holly in goal. Kane Vincent-Young making his debut at right back. Chambers came back in at centre back and was partnered by Wilson, which is maybe a little bit of a surprise. We'll get onto that in a moment. Kenlock kept his place at left back. Judge got his first start, but it was back out on the left of a 4. with Gwyn Edwards on the right, Scowns in the centre of midfield.
Apparently people turn off if I say Scugless, so I won't say Scugless.
Scowns.
Say Scowns instead of Scugless, Mike.
And obviously Jackson and Norwood started up top after they linked up well the other night.
Lawson.
Yeah.
Jackwood. No. Sorry.
I'm not going to run through the Bolton team because it's just a bit of a farce, isn't it?
Can I run
Let's
through
talk about
their
Remy
ages
Matthews.
quickly?
Yeah, you
Mention
can
Remy
do that, Ben.
Matthews.
Look, I mean,
The
this
keeper.
is Mikey. This is how ridiculous this is. Yeah, and Rich has mentioned Remy Matthews. Yeah, fine, 25. Jason Lowe, fine, 27. Luke Murphy, 29. James Weir, 24. Brockbank, 20. Zuma, 21. White, 17. Graham, 17. Darcy, 18. King Harmer's 17, Sterling 17. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not only 4 teenagers, there's about 6 teenagers. 4 17-year-olds. This is
It's
ludicrous, Mikey.
Yeah. What were you doing when you were 17, Rich?
Well, I don't know.
Well, you know that
wasn't
thing I mentioned earlier?
No, that's gone way over my head as
How
well.
have we got back onto this
Sorry.
from last week?
Posh.
Brilliant.
No,
Can we just get into the game? Let's get into the game.
Well, Mikey, can I just come in on some of the... I just had a look back. Kenlock has started 23 out of the last 27 league games. This really is sink or swim until January for him. And I know Rich has probably got some views and you've probably got some views on Kenlock. But he's certainly... I didn't think it was that run. If you go back to the Millwall game, I think it's January the 1st or 2nd. You mentioned Wilson, Mikey. I thought that made all the sense in the world. You're going against a front four with a combined age of about 40. Just rotate and get him in there. So I thought that made a lot of sense. What did you guys make of Lambert's comments on? Well, the formation is set and players will play where they were told. Was that a direct Judge left midfield reference?
Yeah, I think we can safely say because pretty much everyone else is playing in their preferred positions, aren't they? And yeah, Judge is just going to have to suck it up and find a way of making it work. And if that means that he gets on the ball slightly less, then so be it. Because Kenlock's not going to enjoy playing behind Judge again if he plays like he has been. That's my thoughts on it. What about you, Rich?
I mean, you can get away with it yesterday, can't you? You can. I assume that was partly why Judge played yesterday because he can drift around. It's an experienced rookie, Tina Bennett said. So if he decides to disappear off and drift into the centre or go over to the left, we're likely to have the ball, and therefore that floating around is probably going to be quite useful. But against a Shrewsbury and a Rochdale, he can't afford to do that. And yeah, it appears in terms of the formation, it appears the 4-4-2 is it now after Tuesday night. That was pretty much locked in now, isn't it? And Jackson and Norwood, that seems to be starting to gel as well. More on that in a sec. So it will be 4-4-2, and it will be against better teams. You can't piss about, Judge. You have to, and I don't think it was Vowed at all. He's the only player that doesn't really have the discipline. Edwards was quite disciplined at Peterborough. I don't know less about his game yesterday, but I think he's figured out, although he's not the strongest. So yeah, I think it's if we're going to do the 4-4-2, it's you're going to have to stick with your fullback, and I think Judge is going to get into the team at some point, isn't he? Probably next week. That might be a run for him now. So yeah, you're going to stay there, do the hard work as well.
Mikey, when he got in Judge last year, do you remember he went from he's not played for 2 years, and he played like 90 minutes in a row, didn't he?
Yeah.
He just played
crazy.
every minute. So
Yeah.
Richard's probably right that this might, he might just be in every week now, which be interesting to see what that does with Rowe and Garbutt and such alike.
Yeah, absolutely. As expected, Ipswich start the game sort of on top. Vincent Young seemed to be getting forward really well, putting a peach of a cross that neither of our strikers could get onto, but that seemed like I know it's against a weak opposition, but it's nice to see our right back getting forward and getting a decent cross in. And on 18 minutes, we were given a second penalty in the space of a week. Ben, can you explain this decision and talk us through the penalty?
Get the VAR out, Ben.
Before we do this, none of the three of us are going to take any delight in these poor Bolton players, but these goals are just amongst Mikey sent me the list of what to look at, and I'm not going to take any delight. Like I say, this is just atrocious, like Vanarama stuff. It is. I don't know if your ones are any better, Rich, but the 3 out of the 5 I've looked at just. So Judge puts a right-footed corner and he hangs it up. The tweet you sent in the week, Rich, about Norwood's late run, he tries to do the same late run. He heads it back in. Graham, who's probably not left-footed, swings his left foot, completely misses, like a kind of karate kick type thing. Skews flips it up in the air. It falls to Edwards, who tries to control it, and Brockbank, who isn't 17, is just too close to him. It hits his left hand. It's just awful. And I look, we did this a lot talking about goals against Ipswich last season, didn't we? Where we just get very fed up and just describe complete ineptitude. And I feel so sorry for the Bolton fans. They're a great club. We had amazing games with them. You know, the best game I've ever seen was against Bolton.
Same.
But it's just embarrassing. And this is goal number 1 of 5. Just the poor guy, they don't know what they're doing. Bless them, absolutely bless them. So penalty, and then you saw all the heads dropped as soon as the penalty's given. I know they drew against Richards Cov, but you could see the heads just go after this. I think Norwood had probably been spoken to and done some penalty practice about, you know, at least the old Alan Shearer thing of wherever I put it, if I put it in the top half of the goal, it's harder for the keeper to save. 5 steps, sticks his foot through it, 1-0, scored in his 3rd consecutive game, but
that's incredibly descriptive.
It's just awful, isn't it? I feel it's just uncomfortable to watch these goals.
Quite a few of our listeners, though, don't feel like this about us winning this game. We'll get onto that in the questions.
That's fine.
Just a thought, Ben, in terms of I'm trying to find a theory to kind of explain it, because the defending was for that first goal particularly, it was quite desperate. The ball kind of bumping around and bouncing around, and no one really got a foot on it in their defence, isn't it? And I wonder whether there was a few opportunities for a Bolton player to take a little bit of composure and lash it out. And I wonder whether they panic a little bit too much and swipe at it too quickly, rather than maybe letting the ball drop and then smashing it. Because you don't dick about in that kind of situation.
All the ways
it's
that
a bit
they
of panic, isn't it?
Yeah, all the ways they could have conceded that first goal, because the first goal kills them.
And
all the ways they could have done.
And the handball is unfortunate. I know the rules have changed a little bit. It does. You can see a hand in there for the penalty, but it's just of all the things you don't want to concede. Don't give the opposition a bloody free kick at.
Yeah, you're right. It's
from a penalty spot.
Complete giveaway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm. So Norwood, sensing blood perhaps, goes looking for a second and third goal, but he's twice denied by Remy Matthews before half time. So going in at half time, it's only 1-0, but you kind of know what way the second half is going to go. And on 50 minutes, he has a great chance that Rich can talk us through.
Is this Norwood or is this the goal?
Well, this is the goal, but it was from a Norwood chance, wasn't it?
Because he's missed a few. You mentioned it, a few one-on-ones, and Alex Matthew was on the commentary, not happy about this finishing. There's a few moments, at least one occasion where he says he needs to get back to the training ground and try those.
Do you think it was the lack of Rich? Do you think it was the lack of intensity in the game? My hero from watching football when I was young was Ian Wright. Said you got to concentrate, you got to go cold, and it's just a weird friendly type thing, isn't it? But you're good on the XG, Rich. His XG must have been about 4 for that first half.
Oh yeah, exactly right. And Wimbledon, he's missed a similar chance. Yeah, and I think it's just sees the goal, takes a heavy touch, and then he's kind of reduced his options and given the keeper a chance. In this situation, Scouse, bloody hell, Scouse almost gets another brilliant assist. Lovely weighted ball again. It's a punt from Kenlock, which I think is a little bit desperate defending and what Bolton should have been trying to do for the first. Falls to Scouse, fortunately, threads it perfectly to Norwood, who's in. But as I say, takes a too heavy touch. Matthews is out quickly, saves it at his feet. He's just really unfortunate that the ball falls straight to Edwards on the edge of the box, who he traps the ball, but it kind of goes out in front of him, and so he actually finds himself in a bit of space, and there's a bit of crowd of bodies. The keeper's still getting back to his feet. There's a defender on the line, a defender on the penalty spot. Manages to thread it between them low into the goal, and it's a decent finish from Edwards.
Yeah, and he gets goals, Edwards, doesn't he?
Yeah, he needs to score more, I think, but he scores. You know, at least he's getting himself about a bit, and he was quiet against Peterborough. I was going to say Portsmouth, Peterborough last week, but he's getting back into it. Still had that great shot that we talked about, that deflected effort. I think he'll be good if he can improve his defensive work a little bit as well. He's at this level,
especially in a 4-4-2, Rich. For goodness' sake.
And he's got a good delivery on him as well, potentially from a cross. But he was scoring goals kind of in that bit of the season where we weren't necessarily relegated. We're looking the Reading goal in that 2-1 back post. So he knows where to be. As I say, the talking point here is Norwood, and maybe he should do better. But 2-0, yeah, good for us.
Yeah. Okay, so by this stage, Bolton are getting a little bit tired. Should we put some sad music on in the background for this
Probably,
bit?
yeah.
Ben, Town are going for the jugular. Can you describe goal number 3?
It's even worse than the first one, Mikey. It's embarrassing. At the point when it goes in, there's 2 Ipswich players on the line behind the goalkeeper, okay? Right, Judge, another right-footed corner, stands it up. Now, Sterling does quite well. He clears it. Downs just heads it back in. Sterling clings it again. And then this is King Harmes, who's another of the 17-year-old, tries to control it, and if he'd done nothing, if he'd laid on the ground and let this ball just go past him, there would have been less danger. He actually recycled. You know how Millwall and Cardiff are really good at recycling set plays? He does a brilliant job of recycling the set play for us by putting his entire team back with a just scandalously silly touch. But I do apologise to the listeners. He's 17, and he's probably the plans for him all season were to play, age representative football and just try and get another contract next season, but now he's playing
it's another panicky swipe at the ball, isn't it, Ben?
It's horrible, isn't it?
Can I just say, Sam Allardyce said on the radio the other day, because he was dead against them calling off the game on Tuesday night, he was saying that it's these sort of situations that can make or break these youngsters, but he was saying that as a reason for them playing. He thinks that they should be made or broke at 17.
Losing 5-0 every week and
make or break. Yeah.
Well, none of us to argue with anyone of Big Sam's standing, but I don't necessarily endorse that opinion.
What did you call him, Mikey? Not his face. What's that thing you call him?
Ex-England manager Sam Allardyce. It's lifted up. Oh, has he done? Oh, right. Okay, tell me off air. The ball's alive. Wilson just flips it up in the air, and Norwood, this is quite good. He goes up, he flicks it on, and then the other 17-year-old, literally, again, I just feel just stands still. Ball goes past him. Edwards runs in. Matthews, I'm going to give a pass. He tries to come out, kind of bounces off Edwards, hits the post. Edwards squares it along the line. Jackson goes in, but it's just 2 17-year-olds who just don't know what they're doing, and it was. You can see Jackson didn't celebrate, Edwards didn't celebrate.
You should look at Matthews' face when the ball goes in. He's just so confused as to why there's no defenders near him, and yet there's 2 forwards.
Sad and embarrassing, and
it only gets more embarrassing. It wasn't 3-0 for long, was it, Rich?
No, I nearly my long-term prediction on the pod nearly came true. It's a long punt up the field from Thomas Holly that almost lands on the 18-yard line. It doesn't. It's halfway through the Bolton half.
How high does he kick it, by the way?
Great, isn't it?
Off the ground. I've never seen anyone. I've seen goalkeepers hit it that far.
4-4-2. Get it forward.
Can we not knock
it? He kicks it so high. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like a 9-9.
And it's like a 9-9, Mikey, in terms of its shape, but it's got a 5 irons worth of distance to it.
Yeah, what do you think of that, Ben?
Golf and cricket, brilliant. We're ticking all the boxes.
Tiger Woods, Ian Poulter.
It's a shame Dave probably won't listen to this, isn't
it? Yeah.
He doesn't even celebrate his own goals, let alone listen to a pod when he's not on it. Sorry, go ahead, Rich.
He's more back to the halfway line. So Thomas Ollie with an assist for an assist. A lovely glancing there from Norwood. 2 good headers in the build-ups to both these goals, and the one before from Norwood. Jackson spins on it, and his pace takes him away from the defender and the goal. The defender, I don't know who it is. I haven't been as meticulous in my research as Ben, but I think his mistake is he goes to ground to try and slide the ball out, and Jackson just takes it past him, and it's a side-footed, calm finish, firm finishing just inside the post, nicely taken.
It's a confidence builder for Jackson, isn't it? That sort of goal.
Because the third
he wouldn't have taken much out of the third.
I could have scored the third goal if I was in his position, just so we had to clear.
The XG was 0.999999 of that goal. Yeah,
this could have scored that. Darren Bent could have scored that goal.
And Norwood, perhaps worried that Jackson he'd caught him in the goal-scoring stakes, pops up again on 72 minutes. Quite a nice goal, this one, Ben, from a striker's perspective.
Yeah, let's
just go from the striker's perspective.
Less shame. Can we just say Skew's got taken out straight after the
of course,
Jackson goal, didn't he? So Emir Hughes played another 25 minutes. Judge swings it across, doesn't he? Norwood pulls off in that good little space in between the right-sided centre half and the right fullback. And this is low. This is the 27-year-old, so he's got no excuses like the 17-year-old. Bit of a lazy leg, but can you imagine playing in that game? Norwood beats him, slots it in from 8 yards out, middle of the goal, and I don't know. I mean, you've played more football than me, Mikey. I think there's kind of a tacit agreement between managers when you get to 5. It's kind of like, okay, no more. This is not gonna, whatever Mr. Allardyce says, this is not going to do favours for these. Yeah. Apparently they turned the scoreboard off after 3 goals.
I've lost a game for Woodbridge Youths growing up. I think it was under 15s, under 16s. And Ransoms had an incredible team, and they were all massive and had obviously gone through puberty a couple of years earlier than everyone else. They beat us 12-2 on the opening day of the season. 12-2.
When did your head drop, Mikey?
Well, I don't know if it did really. I was just a bit hopeless. I just kept trying. I was like that hopeless.
Well, he hasn't mentioned they were 2-0 up as well. 10 minutes to go.
But then I have at university, I played for a Sunday team, and we had to start in the very bottom league, and we played a team called Winchester Wunder Team, and we beat them 23-0 because we needed the goal difference, because we were going for the title with another team. So yeah, 23-0.
That sounds like an Italian last game of the season with lots of movement in the betting markets. Yeah.
So let's move on to the Twitter questions. Got plenty of.
Can we? Sorry, Mikey. I know you're hosting this show. Me and Ben are ruining it for you, aren't we? This is what happens.
The worst. Absolutely worst.
3 hosts.
Did you turn the aircon up?
Can we? What I would have done is, can we talk about Bolton? And I think there's a question about it, so I won't go there. But the state of affair. I mean, Berry's takeover is still to be rubber stamped. They've been given an extra 48 hours, I think. But the local MP there, who's positive. But still thinks it's quite a tricky situation to get that deal done in the time. Disgrace. Bolton situation, heard more about that after the match as well, more EFL stuff on that. This is really crap, and this needs to be sorted. EFL no longer fit for purpose, if you ask me. And there's a petition going on the internet. I've retweeted it. I might retweet it again. An independent review or some kind of independent bodies need to set up, because this is just an absolute disgrace. The people who lose out, the fans. That was Bolton's lowest attendance at their new stadium, and for some 30 years, I think, yesterday. And it's the fans who end up coming off the worst of this. No one wants to sit there and watch, their kids get pulled apart by teams like Ipswich who have got some wily pros like Norwood and Judge. It's just not football. It's just not fair. It needs to be sorted out, and we need to, as fans, we need to call this out as well. So I'll get off my soapbox. Coventry as well. That's a disgrace.
Yeah,
they happen to be
it just adds insult to
top
injury,
of the league.
It?
It doesn't matter.
When you've got Bolton playing the kids, when you're watching the EFL show, it really kicks in. Bolton are playing the kids. Bury aren't playing. And then you go to the Coventry game, and they've got a really decent side this season, and they're playing in a half-empty St Andrews Stadium.
Yeah, which isn't
it's just not on, is it? And yeah, I couldn't put it any better than you have, Rich. I'm sure, Ben, you've got plenty of opinions on this as well, and I'm sure you voiced them on your wonderful YouTube channel. But is there anything you want to add?
Well, it's just how and when it starts to distort things. Look, the most important thing, without sounding... It's very easy to sound selfish and just think about it from your point of view. Most important thing is that Bolton doesn't go under, and even if they're going to be relegated this season, that's going to happen. But that they're stable and that they come back. But you then start to think this is ridiculous. And what happens if it's still that situation, like you say, last game of the season? You will actually get a 10-0 or an 11-0 if this is. So I know the takeover is supposed to be finished, and that would be sorted out. Then you're going to get all the other teams complaining, Ipswich had a go at Bolton when Bolton were playing the Youths, and they put 5 goals, and they finished above us by 3 goals. And the whole point of a league pyramid is that everybody is playing against teams, and it's competitive. There's no point. Competition is not meaningful, and football is not meaningful if it's 5-0 with players who, like you say, against okay, we have Alan Judge, who's an international, against 17-year-olds who are just poor rabbit in the headlights. Ipswich were not good enough for the Championship last year, so they've come down to play against teams that now should be able to challenge them, and it's meaningless, isn't it? Sport is only meaningful when there's a good sense of competition between the two teams, and just very messy and horrible.
Absolutely, yeah. I never get as much pleasure out of beating my dad at sports now as I used to. I hope he's listening. So, sorry to be flippant about that. You've both made your points brilliantly, and yeah, maybe I just have to make a joke because I haven't thought of anything intelligent to say.
What can you do though?
Yeah.
What can you do? It's sad and it's shame and it's horrible, and I never thought I'd be, especially after last season, Rich. I never thought I'd be uncomfortable seeing Ipswich win 5-0.
Yeah.
So I haven't got these questions in a particularly good order because there are a few questions on the Bolton situation, but we touched upon it when we talked through the Ipswich lineup. Dylan wants to know, Wolfenden, was he just rested, or is Wilson actually ahead of him in the pecking order? Can you answer this one, Rich?
Wolfenden, I'm assuming, was just rotated for a bit of a rest. He'll come back in. And Joe's mentioned this a few times as well. Wilson's on a short-term deal with us. Is a backup option. I think it was minutes for him, and Wolfenden will back in next weekend.
Absolutely, I'd agree with that 100%. Here's a good one for you, Ben. Scott Burley wants to know, isn't it time to stop navel-gazing about ruddy systems when the team is winning? 4-4-2 may be slightly medieval, but it sure as hell works.
Well, this is really interesting, actually, because did you see on Sky the other week, they had Jose Mourinho on and just blows every other pundit away because he's actually doing the job properly. And he said something that Lambert actually repeated in his press conference. He said, look, don't get confused here. Philosophy and formation are two different things, and tactics, etc. And Lambert said the same thing in his press conference. He said, I want this type of player and I want us to play the same way, whatever our team shape is. I still believe, look, we're top of the league. I'm not complaining. I still believe we're top of the league. We've beaten Burton, we've beaten Wimbledon in the last minute. We've drawn 2 hard games, great. Scored in the last minute against Peterborough. I believe we're top of the league because we've got a lot of good players and a better squad than other teams. I genuinely, call me a stick in the mud, don't believe we'll finish the season playing 4-4-2. I think that's what we're doing at the moment, and it's working. I know Paul Lambert always comes out, we're playing well. I think we're strong, and again, I might just be confused. I watched 78 Championship games last year, so my reference for what is a good team is unfortunately Leeds, Aston Villa, Norwich, and Sheffield United, and they are really good. So maybe I've just got the wrong frame of reference, Mikey. And a good team in League One has a couple of good forwards and is solid. And if that's the case, fine. And I don't quite understand League One then in that case. But my perception of a good team is one that has a pattern of play that I can figure out. Yeah. One that, and someone made a brilliant...
But perhaps we can get that pattern of play playing 4-4-2, which is kind of what you've already said, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. And so much of it, I know I've paffled on about this, the fullbacks as well. You talk about not getting outnumbered in midfield when you play 4-4-2. These fullbacks now are so, and hopefully Kane Vincent-Young can be the one where you don't get outnumbered in midfield because your fullbacks are forward, you've dropped one midfielder in and you get those extra 2, come a bit tighter, and then teams that do drop a third midfielder in, you're not getting outnumbered by. I just personally think that when Judge is clicking, Keane's back in, Sears, blah blah blah, Dazelle, that it won't be, but it's working at the moment, and long may it continue. But yeah, lots of
your point about it, the reference is, I mean, this is a debate that's going to go on for weeks. I'm pretty certain we're going to be talking about formations for at least another couple of months, Mikey. And is it Scott, the original guy, asked the question?
Scott Burley, yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
Name.
And
That's got Callum of that name.
George's nephew, probably. I think it's a really fair point because we didn't win on Tuesday night against Wimbledon because we had a solid system and we're passing the ball around and we attacked down the wings, we attacked with set pieces, we pumped the ball in the box, and they eventually relented and made a mistake and we scored 2 goals. And I think there's to Ben's point, there's probably a line somewhere at about 8th in League One where below that you could just chuck your best players in, you could stick it any old formation, and probably if you had most of the ball and strikers who finish their chances, you'll probably more often than not win the game. To Ben's point about a pattern of playing the structure, that is where we will need it against those 8th and above teams, because Sunderland, we were crap in the second half and threw away 3 points, having been great in the first half. Burton was a slog as well. Peterborough was a slog, which we nearly lost as well. So I think it is that 8th line and above where actually we will need a bit of a structure, and the kind of philosophy that's worked against a Wimbledon or a Bolton of let's just go for it. That won't work.
But Rich, sorry, Mikey, can I come in again? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
I've got no problem with that, Rich. If that is the system, like Millwall 27-18, really high intensity, 4-4-2, big forward, little forward, press. They were brilliant. I love them. 2 of my favourite teams ever, Liverpool 89, Man United 99, were 4-4-2. But that was in a time where there's always a third midfielder. But this is not what Lambert wants to do. Lambert wanted to. You could see when he joined what he wanted to do, and it was wide forwards and passing through the. And
I've got a good question then from Mullet.
Go ahead, go on.
Which is on this subject. I'll direct it at both of you. As I interrupted you, Ben, you can go first. So
No.
Mullet says Town were poor again in the first half and markedly different in the second. Given we're top of the league, despite some struggles so far this season, is Lambert more of a motivator than a tactician, and does it matter?
Well, it doesn't matter if there's someone on the bench who is a tactician. And there clearly is someone, because Rich was there at Burton, 52 minutes, 53 minutes, outnumbered in midfield, and they changed it. There's things being spotted. I think Mullet's right. I think he is more of a motivator than a tactician. Maybe at this level it does not matter, but, and I'm going to sound very glass half empty here, if we're promoted with no pattern of play just by having better players and then go up to a division where we now no longer have better players, we will be relegated again.
Yeah, it's a great point. I was going there next.
There's no long-term upside, Rich, to that. And call me a dreamer.
And we are supposed to be rebuilding, aren't we?
Yeah,
it's not just about getting promoted, isn't it? So, Rich, would you go along with that?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, and Mullet's fair on that, and I agree with Ben totally. It was a point that was forming in my head just as you said it, and I think the problem we've got. Well, no, not the problem. The thing is that Lambert had such a fixed way of playing with Norwich when he took them up from League One up to the Championship and then through the Championship. I totally agree. If we don't stumble across, it feels like he's going to stumble across something. He stumbled across the 4-4-2. The next thing, there will be an evolution. We won't finish the season, I agree, on 4-4-2. What happens next might stumble across it. I'm with Ben. I just feel that if we want to get promoted and stay up, we need a little bit more about us, and I'm not seeing that at the moment. And we've had a few halves of football, and Mullet's right about the first half on Saturday, albeit Norwood could have had a hat-trick maybe, where we maybe flattered to deceive a little bit. So we've still got time. It's still August, guys. We've still got a lot of the season to go.
Mikey, just quickly, look at Blackburn when they came up. Real clear way of playing, probably similar wage bill than what we're going to be paying this year. They were like 8th with probably 2 months of the season to go. They got a pattern of play in League One and just did the same thing in the Championship.
Yeah.
And, essentially comfortable.
And that was, let's not go into this too deeply, but that was a 4-4-1-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I quite like that as a formation. And my main gripe with the 4-4-2 of Ipswich, because I quite like a 4-4-2, Emir Hughes doesn't really fit in it for me. And I think we need to find a way to get him to play. So Will Airy wants to know, so this is completely changing the subject here. Following Norwood's goal gifts, what would be your wrestler names and signature moves?
I'd just be... I'm already... In wrestling, you essentially you just act a prick and you get booed. So I'd just be Benjamin Bloom and be myself, and I would be a wrestling heel. I'd probably play the piano a bit, and people would boo the hell out of me like they do on Twitter already. And I would be a villain, and I would make the good guy, Mikey. Look how handsome he is. He would be like the John Cena guy, wouldn't he? So
he's got to shave the beard, though. He's got to shave the beard.
I would antagonise you.
I don't think I've ever been compared to John Cena.
Okay.
He's absolutely massive, isn't he?
Yeah, he's huge. Yeah. I would antagonise you for a while, and then you would beat me at Blue Monday Mania with your finishing move, the Finnish finisher.
You'd be slagged off.
My
off for wrestling in the wrong city, your fans would hate you.
My only move is I've got very long fingers, and I used to grab a mate by the shoulder and just dig my index finger into their collarbone. So that's my move.
That would work in wrestling. You just have to sell it to the back row, you know.
Yeah, but I think if I was going to go with a wrestling name, I'd go with what back in my uni days, my Xbox gamer tag was Penty of Fish, and I would climb the ropes and salmon dive on top of.
It's nice. He's giving us some thought, Rich.
Yeah,
love that.
I literally just thought of it, but go on then, Rich.
So I used to for a job used to do build wind farms. So I'm the nickname needs some work because I don't want to be
the
Windy
Hurricane?
Woody. The Hurricane, thank you. Not Windy Woody. But my signature move is wheeling my arms around like that. And I've windmill a few people out.
And if you get hit, it's your own fault.
Yeah, if you get in the way, I'm going to be doing this. Have we got anything about the gist? Because this is breaking news before we came on air.
Oh God, yeah.
Norwood and The Rock are best mates now.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
So if any of our listeners don't have Twitter and are unaware of what we're talking about the little
the people's elbow.
6-second videos that pop up when we score, and James Norwood has obviously recorded quite a few wrestling moves that he does, and this time he did a wrestling move which was made famous by The Rock, who is Dwayne Johnson, Hollywood actor, probably he's the biggest name.
Not just Hollywood actor, just
A-lister, isn't he?
He's grossing actor at the moment, isn't he? I think, statistically.
And he has probably 20 million followers.
And WWE with their 10 million followers.
10 million in the UK, yeah.
So
they both tweeted James Norwood.
Ridiculous. This all comes from Billy Sharp pulling out the sock at Norwich last year, and then Mick Foley, the wrestler who was actually went to Sheffield and did a Q&A thing at the stadium.
What are you about to say, Ben?
Well, what I'm about to say is that the football equivalent of this is your good friend Matt Holland. You could probably get him, couldn't you? You couldn't get David Beckham, could you?
No.
No. But and a lot of people said we had Ed Sheeran in the park wearing an Ipswich Town shirt and WWE, and no sense of exaggeration, the highest grossing actor in the world tweeting our free transfer signing from Tranmere. It's been a fun week, hasn't it?
Yeah, and we won 5-0 away from home.
And
felt guilty about it.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? What a weekend. Jack Barham staying on James Norwood, he wants to know how many goals do you think Norwood and Jackson will get combined together?
I think Norwood will get to 20 if he starts practicing. He'll get penalties now as well. So I think Jackson's good for about 50. I think they'll both be about 40. I think
40. Okay, big.
I'll put being your finish, Mikey. Will he get more or less goals than Timu Pukki of Norwich City?
And he got 27.
No, this season.
Oh, this season. Oh, come on.
He already has 5.
Norwood's going to get more this season.
Do you think Puki's he's had a really big start? Do you think he's going to tail off?
Well, he's not going to. I don't think he'll be able to maintain it, but I think he'll be good for 15 goals.
Incredible.
He's good at getting himself chances, and he's surrounded by creative players, isn't he? But let's not talk about Norwich.
No, let's not. Is there any worrying? And again, maybe I need to stop viewing it through watching Billy Sharp and Timu Pukki and Che Adams last year. Is there any worrying about missing high percentage chances, or am I now following a League One team where we don't have David Johnson, Marcus Stewart, James Scowcroft and Richard Naylor as our 4 forwards anymore?
I feel like Norwood is still getting himself in. I think he is a really good finisher, and he's clearly very good at getting the chances. David Johnson didn't score all of his one-on-ones.
No,
that's a myth.
Neither did Andy Cole, and he was an amazing striker.
Yeah,
the thing that
it's all about getting a massive chances, and Timu Puki's exactly the same, isn't he? He gets himself those chances.
The good thing about the two, Mike,
he hits it early.
Was yesterday there was a few moments where both of them took shots. Jackson had one in the near post that was really stupid, and Norwood's there in acres of space. Jackson first half where they could have crossed into each other. There's the good and bad of this is they're in competition with each other, which is good because it drives them on to score more. But my worry is they might push each other the other way, and they'll take chances that they should just slot the other one in for. So let's hope
I can't imagine Jackson doing that.
Richard, don't you think in 6 weeks, Caden Jackson's not going to be in competition with James Norwood, he's going to be in competition with Will Keane?
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think that'll happen as well. Yeah. Deep. Yeah. God, that's ruined the mood, isn't it?
Going back to that,
Love
going
the
back to that 1999 Manchester United team you mentioned, Ben. They were playing in a few different competitions, weren't they? Which we will be. And they had 4 strikers that were rotated.
Quite good, weren't they?
And they
Scottish manager
subbed on for each other. A couple of them hated each other.
They didn't speak, did they? Sheringham and Cole.
Cole and Sheringham didn't like each other one bit, and it still worked. And just maybe that is what we are in the Champions League.
Read out their midfield, just for no other reason. Beckham.
What are you about to say that Roy Keane and Paul Scholes are better than Scouts?
Is that not the best? If you wanted to make the most perfect balanced midfield in the history of football, for balance, that's ludicrous, isn't it? Sorry, go ahead, Mikey.
And Nicky Butt as well. If you're like, just bring him in. I can't even remember what point I was making. I think I was comparing our current team to the '99 Manchester United team.
Because they played 4-4-2 really well, with David Beckham gigs on the wing.
While we're still laughing, Andy Grimes wants to know, what are you wearing to the open top bus parade?
Oh,
Ben?
Stop it, Andy. I think I met
there won't be one, will there?
I think I met Andy Grimes in Milton Keynes IKEA, if it's the same Andy. I was eating some IKEA food and he came up, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Are you the guy from the podcast?" There you are. So, hi to Andy. Can we quote Richard's first team's Coventry, his second team's Villa, isn't it? Let's quote Richard's second team, Villa, Christian Purslow and Dean Smith. When they got promoted, they said, Aston Villa do not have an open-top bus for getting promoted into the top league. It's, there will be no bus parade. I'd imagine Paul Lambert would hate nothing more.
Well, we'll go to the pub. We'll have a drink.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
All the good people can come.
We'll raise one guy. Okay.
We'll
go out for a curry in Woodbridge.
When he pulls the wheelchair out and doesn't put it back. That's ridiculous.
Keith finishing off his meal. Is that not? Yeah,
licking his fingers.
Fish and chips, isn't it?
Oh my god.
That's all right. You know where you can get good pie though?
Gardeners.
Harry Butcher wants to know, and Ben, I'm not going to ask you this one. Rich, how nice is the feeling of Ipswich actually thrashing a team? I don't care who it's against. Such a nice feeling. Let's remember Harry is a lot younger than we are, and he.
What do you think I am? 30s. Yeah.
30s. Harry hasn't really seen Ipswich hit a team for 5
I don't begrudge Harry enjoying it.
Let's let him enjoy it.
When did we last win by 5 goals? We didn't do it under Mick. It was 4-0 against Borough, wasn't it?
Yeah. Did we beat anyone 5-0 under Paul Hurst?
Has anyone got a Scunthorpe update? Scunthorpe are doing the set play thing as well, Mikey.
Oh, they are.
Oh,
wow.
He'll be sacked soon, won't he?
Yeah. And he'll have no regrets, and none of it will be his fault. Matt Thomas wants to know. Matt Thomas, this is another one maybe aimed at you, Ben. Can we finally have a little positivity? I'm all for being realistic, but some Ipswich dementors seem to revel in assuming the worst. But the main question is, would you guys agree that based on him being way too good for even the Championship last season, if we get 20 plus games out of Will Keane, will we be up?
Christ. That's about 3 questions in one, isn't it, Mikey?
Yeah, let's just answer the final question. I think maybe the first bit is him
just on behalf of the podcast, we've always tried to be just realistic. So we are top of the league. You know, no one's seen us blow anybody away. You know, hopefully we didn't get too down last season. So we'll just try and stay on a level. You would think, given that this is very basic bad football supporter maths, if Will Keane was already scoring 3 or 4 in the championship in quite quick succession, what did Matt say? 20 games. You'd think he'd get a fair few goals if he played 20 times 90 minutes with James Norwood. And like Richard said, in a team that has a lot of the ball where, you know, by hook or by crook, whether it's direct or by, you know, nice pattern of play, you'd think with a fair amount of chances. So it all bodes really well. And yes, we're all very, very, very positive about it.
We just don't want to be arrogant like those pricks up the road.
That is true. And we it's quite fun playing devil's advocate every now and then. You know, we need to keep because it could be a really boring season if we win every week, guys. That will get boring too as well. So every now and then, just a little bit of, you know, just checking in. It's good to have high standards as well. That's all we want.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're very happy at the moment.
I'm going to answer this one on our behalf from Kawami, my lord. He asks, if Ipswich were in Bury and Bolton's position, would you rather they survived or disappeared into oblivion?
If Ipswich?
Oh, sorry. If Norwich were in that position.
Okay.
Would real slip there.
Slodian Fripp.
I'm mispronunciating my worms, aren't I here?
That's the 2 Ronnies!
That's one of mine. Squeeze me. That's another.
Thank you very much. Stop it now. Stop it, for God's sake.
Yeah, so if Norwich were in Bury or Bolton's position, would I want them to disappear? Absolutely not. One of the best things about being an Ipswich fan is that we have a rival that is kind of not on a different planet to us in terms of where they are as a club. I know they're 2 divisions away from us at the moment, but that's unusual, and the gap will close in. Don't you look forward to the derby?
No, I hate it.
Well,
but I like the rivalry.
Rivalry's
I hate the day.
And think back to when we were slightly better than they were. Well, or much better than they were in the late 90s, early 2000s. I loved the derby. It was brilliant. And that win feels so much better than any other. And if Norwich disappeared, you'd lose that.
You'd be smug and happy for a minute, and then you'd realise basically we have no bragging rights ever again, and we'd have to manufacture a rivalry with Southend or Colchester or Cambridge or something stupid like that. So no one wants anyone to go bust. But I've got to have an enemy.
I wouldn't mind Jake Humphrey disappearing into oblivion, though.
The great thing about this season is no matter how well or badly Norwich will do in the Premier League, we will still live rent-free in most of their supporters' minds.
I was just going to bring that up, Rich. Is this not this is clearly the most irrelevant season of the rivalry in decades, isn't it? They've literally had 8 seasons of either parachute money or Premier League money, and they're 2 divisions above us. Yet people are still trying to create narratives between the 2 clubs, you know, bringing up attendances from when Norwich were last in League One and comparing Pookie. I know I compared Pookie and Norwich. I was thinking we'd have a season off it this season, you know, but no,
I don't see
still a lot of communication.
We don't call it out, though, do we? And this is the weird thing. It's mainly Norwich. I guess they've got the bragging rights, haven't they? So that's their right, isn't it, to be smug about it? But yeah, even Jake Humphrey went to Ed Sheeran had to get an Ipswich Town dig in there, even though the main guy on stage is wearing an Ipswich shirt and you're an Ipswich, mate.
Mikey, what viewing figures do BT get? This is into the millions, yeah?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it is millions.
Why does he need the approval of 100 people on Twitter when he goes in front of 3 million people?
Oh, love me. He's just so desperate to feel a part of something because he probably had no mates at school.
Yeah. Move on. That's good.
And he's just constantly blowing his own trumpet. Oh, I do this. Oh, I do that. Oh, please notice me. Just get on with your job. He was actually quite good at it before he became a football presenter and decided to give his opinions about it all the time. But let's move on from him. Benjamin Errier wants to know, with so many strong teams in League One this season, how many points are we going to need to get promoted?
92. Always the 2 points for over 46 games. And you can lose it.
Is it a strong league? Sorry,
I'm not sure it is.
Yeah, but it's not hard to, you know, over a 10 game period to pick up, I mean, you've already mentioned it, Rich. The points will still accumulate for teams, like you say, that can knock off the bottom, whatever, 10 or 12 fairly easily. And these things have a way of, I remember Joe Royal saying it years ago, 2 points per game, and I've always lived by that. And if you look at the end of every season, pretty much to get second place is always 2 points per game, and you normally get one team, has a really good season and, wins basically 3 out of 4 games all season.
Yep.
Sure. So moving on to Dommy Boy 79. His question is, what are your thoughts on the rotation policy Lambert has in place? Would you rather he stuck with the rotation policy or settled with an 11? Rich?
Forget the question. I want to hear more about your Jake Humphrey. I never thought I'd say this. Can I hear more from Mikey? So I think there'll be, once the league table settles down a little bit into September, we know who the teams are who are going to likely be in the top 6, and hopefully we're one of them. I think there'll be a core 10 or 11, of a team that you would start against those strongest teams, and then I would expect Chambers in and out of the team, maybe Scouse in and out of the team. Maybe if we're going to stick with 2 up front, Norwood and someone else rotates in, like Keane or Sears, or if he comes back. So I think the rotation will happen, and I think quite rightly. Dave and I were chatting about the kind of the depth of the squad, and do you guys feel that we've got to sell? I don't think you can keep this number of players happy. No one's going to be.
That's where the leasing.
John Nolan, you could be starting in many. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Would you want to play in the leasing.com or the FA Cup second round, or would you want to be starting for a team that potentially could be top 6, League One somewhere else, where you'll get first team football on a more consistent basis? So I think that might become an issue as the season goes on, but I'm okay with it whilst we can do it, and while we're still beating teams like Bolton yesterday. You could have probably, had we known in hindsight, we probably would have done a little bit more rotation, I suspect. It was just do a professional job, and we don't really know where we stand as a team yet. Maybe there'll be more rotation, as I say, as we go through the season.
And Mikey, if we get what we all want, which is a pattern of play and a philosophy, you can rotate any player because everyone knows what they're doing and everyone slips in and out. You can't. Yeah. You get no one player, and maybe a centre half or a
look at Luton in the Carabao Cup.
They all know what they're doing, don't they? Yeah. But nobody does it. Nobody plays every minute of every season, apart from the odd centre half and the odd goalkeeper. Outfield players. It's just too hard with the intensity, the impacts. The balls in play way longer. When people were playing 6, I know Russell Osman will probably tweet saying this is all wrong, but did teams really even press then? It's totally different now. It's very hard for and I'm all for it, and I wholly endorse it.
Great stuff. So let's wrap up the Twitter questions with a nice softball for you, Ben. Can you indulge our WWE fans?
Yeah, absolutely.
What celebration should Norwood do next? What GIF should be in? What
I've got an answer.
Should be in his next GIF.
I've got an answer, but I'll let Ben go first.
No, you go ahead, Rich.
He's got to do the Hulk Hogan. He's got to do the Hulk Hogan.
But sorry. Hulk Hogan had like a racism scandal a couple of years ago. So, but what this thing?
No, I want to.
What you gonna do, brother? Oh, and rip the shirt. Yeah, rip the shirt. Yeah, that would be good.
And have another one underneath.
So the most famous wrestlers are Steve Austin. He's done. The Rock. He's done. Yeah, Hulk Hogan's the next one. Ric Flair.
What does he do, Ben?
He goes, woo! And then he does this strut thing, which is a lot of fun. And then it's John Cena. It's that thing. But I'm sure... who was that guy who played for Chelsea? Ivorian, not Drogba. Kalou. He used to do that. Anyway, he's kind of done all the big ones already, hasn't he? He went right to the top with Steve Austin. So lots of wrestling.
Yeah, there was one attached to one of the other questions that I'll just go into.
You don't have to, Mikey, honestly.
No.
Must be a golf thing.
If you were to make a goal GIF, what would it be?
It'd be Rory McIlroy and Wazim Akram.
Doing what?
I'll tell you what I'd do. Yeah, do you remember Macho Man Randy Savage? You must remember him. Bright colours, big hat. Rich remembers him. He used to do a fantastic elbow drop from the top rope. Lily Savage.
Brilliant.
No, but I went to get some dog food the other day, and you can get Paul O'Grady endorsed dog food, who is Yeah, Lily Savage. Macho Man elbow drop, maybe. He's done all the good ones.
How's
like I
that
say.
different from the People's Elbow?
Well, good
Let's
question.
not go into this.
So
Let's
the
not go into
people's
this.
elbow,
Yeah.
he rips the
Other
thing off
results.
and he runs the ropes and does it. Whereas, you know the turnbuckle that holds her, he jumps all the way off the top. It looks really spectacucular.
You had to ask, Mikey, didn't you?
He did
I'm going to whiz through the other results.
bloody love wrestling.
Doncaster 2.
Who's your favourite wrestler?
Carry on.
No, sorry. The best of wrestling. Sorry, keep going.
Doncaster beat Lincoln. Their bubble seems to have been burst a little bit. They've dropped out of the top 6 now.
Is that first defeat though?
Second.
Second defeat in a week. Yeah,
Christ.
Crisis Club. Cowley brothers out. Portsmouth was supposed to be playing Rotherham. For some reason, the EFL scheduled that game despite it being some massive festival in Portsmouth.
Maritime festival thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So that
but
game. couldn't
Rotherham,
go
am I right? If have only played 3 games and have 6 points, so they actually have a bigger upside than all the teams on 11 points if they played their games in hand.
Bristol Rovers, big win for them against Oxford United 3-1. #Cov got another good win at St Andrews, Fortress St Andrews, 1-0 over Gillingham. Joey Barton's Fleetwood got a good 2-0 win over Accrington. Peterborough absolutely flying now. Our point there looks half decent. They won 4-0 at Milton Keynes.
Madison went right yesterday.
Yeah, well, all of their big 3, you'd say, is Asa, Luca, Tony, and Madison all looked pretty decent, didn't they? Rochdale drew 0-0 with Blackpool. Blackpool's still unbeaten, I think.
But that makes our game at Rochdale look trickier if Blackpool can't even go there and score given their start to the season.
Yeah. Shrewsbury, who we face next at home, they drew 0-0 with Burton. I think Burton are going to be up there, aren't they? They seem pretty solid. Sunderland survived a scare against AFC Wimbledon, winning 3-1. And Wycombe Wanderers came from 3-1 down, I think, to win 4-3 against
still got
Southend.
0 points.
I think so, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they just can't. Well, we'll move on to the league table now because, although I haven't got the bottom of the table with me, at the very top.
It's Bury and
11
Bolton, Mikey.
points.
Southend are on 0 points.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. At the very top is Ipswich on 11 points with a goal difference of +7, which is not bad going at this stage, is it? Blackpool also on 11 points, as are Wycombe, who I can't see Wycombe sticking around there for too long. Sunderland have pretty much mirrored what we've done since we played them there, also on 11. #Cov also on 11 points. And then it's Joey Barton's Fleetwood rounding out the top 6 on 10 points. So who was it you mentioned? Was it Rotherham you thought had played?
Yeah, I think they've only played 3 games and yet have
6 points.
6 points. Yeah, but Mikey, we need 10 games to get a good read on it. When you get to about 10 games, it will drop down to maybe 4 or 5 teams on 20 points or above, and then you have a much kind of stronger read on it. But anyone's game, and isn't it nice to play a 3-game week and not lose all the games 2-0 and score 7 points? It's yeah,
it's decent, isn't it?
A lot more fun than last season.
And over to, assuming the Bolton game doesn't get struck from the records because they don't do a takeover by Tuesday night, we're above two points per game on the old extrapolate. I think we had a question about the E word. Or are you? Oh, sorry, Mikey. Have I spoiled your stuff again?
It was Pete Teven who wanted to know. Well, he wanted the extrapolations from you, Ben. Have you got them to hand?
Do you want a pad? Do you want to plug something while I do a quick divide by 46 multiplied by?
Yeah, we can do. So, Rich, you'll be back for the midweek show, won't you?
How many points have we got? 11.
11 divided by 5 times.
Equal that. Times 46. 101.2 points. Wait till 10 games before any...
That should be enough, shouldn't it?
Do we need to do an extrapolate on the goals scored as well? So we can have the 100 points, 100 goals.
Yeah, okay. So we have scored 11 goals.
11. It's the same.
Exactly the same. 101 points, 101 goals. Always the same.
The
I don't know what's going to happen with
100
this.
goals, 100 points is going quite well at the moment.
Yeah, because it could well end up not being a 46-game season. I don't want it to, but I don't know whether there's a solution where Bury don't even play and they're just relegated, and it's a 23 game. So I can see maybe something like that happening, because the longer it goes, it's just ridiculous. I mean, how are Bury, if they do, going to play 46 games with all the midweeks already taken up, no international breaks, and they're not going to be starting until September, are they? Not going to be possible for them to play 46 games, is it? So, it just and like Rich says about the Bolton thing, that could just happen to everybody. And the nice little advantage we've got now, everybody could get 6 points off Bolton and put 8 goals on their goal difference. In which case, it's kind of meaningless, and might not actually be any advantage. But we'll see how that pans out.
Okay, so next up for Ipswich there's no midweek game this week. It's Shrewsbury at home. You're going to that one, Rich and Ben, I believe.
Yes, I will be in the Blue Monday season ticket seat.
Wonderful. I'm considering going as well. I will probably have to sit on your lap, Ben.
Yeah.
And are you both on the midweek show, or is it just Rich and one other?
Just
I
quickly,
think we need to do a bit right. All gone. Yeah.
Sorry, the season ticket's free because I bought the seats in front because I'm going with my missus. So you can sit one seat behind me if you want.
Free massage.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, am I on the preview show? I don't know. Am I?
Well, we'll sort it out.
Probably
no game to talk about, and we've
question for you, Rich. Where do you feel? How do you feel about the rotation policy on the Blue Monday podcast? And do you feel that Ben needs to find his best team?
Well, I've got a structure and a philosophy for my little spreadsheet, but who knows how it's going to land until maybe we get into September.
So am I basically Alan Judge? I get given the instructions and don't listen to them.
Are you just putting yourself out there as the flawed, talented guy, Ben?
Oh, no one understands.
No one understands me. No.
I wanted to go to QPR.
Can I live in Hammersmith, not Shepherd's Bush then?
We'll figure out. Yeah, we'll figure out our rotation for the midweek show. I can't even tell you who's on next week for the main show. Probably, given we're going, we don't need anyone else, do we? Dave was immensely popular. No,
I can tell you though that there should be a bit of Shrewsbury fans don't like us, do they? After the Paul Hurst thing, they seem to think that was a robbery. Although I'm sure they'd rather have Sam Ricketts than Paul Hurst now, and they're in ninth spot. They would, if they came and beat us, they would be level on points with us. They've got 8 points. They're going
to be a better side than Wimbledon, aren't they? Let's face it.
Yeah. They've got one of our old favourites, Steve Morrison, up front as well, who really turned the game against Millwall, didn't he? In January, but I'm sure that will all come up on the preview.
V Kenlock.
Okay, so anything that either of you want to plug before you go?
Of course, at Benjamin Bloom on Twitter. Be nice to me. YouTube, where you watch these things. If anyone's still interested in the Championship, still keep that going. Hopefully, just keep the seat warm for next season, and then Ipswich will be back in there. At Blue Monday, ITFC, and just keep supporting the pod. Keep listening. Hang in there, Richard.
Yeah, and at Ipswich, if you want to give me a follow, keep an eye out for the midweek show. It'll probably drop Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then we'll figure out a squad rotation for next week. And I think, Mikey, you've done a fantastic job of keeping us in check. Just as I interrupt you for the 20th time in the podcast.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Be careful what you wish for.
I always talk over it every time.
Go on.
As he's saying it, I say,
do your funny thing, Mikey.
Come on.